This is Lord Rick of the Paranormal Ghost Society and AngelOfThyNight Radio, and tonight's a very special recipe. I've been cooking chickens for, I'd say, about 20 years, so I've kind of perfected making roaster and whole chickens. This is a very important recipe. Obviously, if the world went into chaos, chickens are fairly easy to raise. Not only can you get eggs from them, but you can also cook a whole chicken for your entire family. And it's just, chicken has a multitude of uses. As long as it's cooked right, because if you don't cook it right, you can get sick. And I know a lot of people have trouble cooking chickens because they want to know what's a safe temperature, how long should it be in. So we're going to do a garlic chicken tonight. And I'm going to show you the dirty job of it. And I'm going to show you the final masterpiece on a plate once it's done, and I'm going to teach you what to look for and how to cook it. And we're going to also do some steamed asparagus, make this little cheesy macaroni side dish. It's going to be brilliant, and you guys are going to love it. So let me get to work here. I got to play butcher. This is the part a lot of people don't like. But what you want to do, you want to take a good sized chicken. This chicken here was $5. $5. And, it's a pretty good sized chicken. It's enough to feed my two sons, my girlfriend, and me. And what you want to do, I freeze them. Because you don't want the meat to go bad. The chicken can be bloody and run all over and leak. So what you want to do is the night before, maybe take it out of the freezer, let it sit on the counter for 6 hours, and maybe refrigerate it in a bowl so it's fully thawed. Because if it's frozen inside, that'll actually, when you're cooking it, it may not be done, and you'll have red near the bones, and you can get salmonella or get very sick. Go, Rascal, go. Rascal seems to have a thing for raw chicken. But anyways, what you do is you just cut off the top. It's a very dirty job because most people think that when you buy a chicken that you don't have to do nothing but put it in the oven. That's not true. Okay? And this chicken, sometimes when you buy a chicken, the chicken has the neck and the gizzards and all that kind of stuff. Some of the chickens I buy, some of them have that, others do not. In this case, this chicken does not have that. You kind of got to kind of play like you're a gray alien. You got to pretend like you've abducted this chicken and you're in outer space, and you got to go in and you got to take things out and put them back and all that kind of stuff. In this case, what I do, and it's kind of hard to see, but when you look inside the chicken, the cavity, there's two gizzards right here. And you can take a knife, which I sometimes do, or you can take your fingers and you got to pull them out. If you want to leave the gizzards in, you can leave the gizzards in. I'm not into eating necks. I'm not into eating gizzards. So I generally see the gizzard. It's kind of just a little red gizzard. And you take that out. Unless you want to leave it. It's just not my thing. I'm not into, I know down south they like to eat the gizzards, and they throw gizzards in the stuffing when they make it and all that kind of stuff. But I clean my cavity and my chicken out really good. And I make sure to run water through it. You want to make sure you get rid of all the blood that's inside the cavity. And you definitely want to clean out the gizzard, or gizzards, which there was no neck. There's only two gizzards, which I got them both out because I can feel nothing but the spine. There's the spine that runs along here, and you can feel there's no more gizzards. It's a very reddish color, and yeah, you could cook them right up. I mean, it's not like you eat in the inside of a chicken, but what you put in your chicken is how your chicken's going to taste. How you season your chicken is how your chicken's going to taste. Chicken is such a very porous meat that it absorbs anything. It absorbs butter and seasonings. So this is going to be a garlic chicken that I'm making. What you want to do is shake it off. Look at that. It kind of looks like, you know, you can see the neck, because there's always a neck attached, but, you know, this is not the final result. This is just like the rough cut, you know. But anyways, what you want to do is just make sure you shake it off. You don't want a lot of water, because if there's a lot of water, when you use a deep dish pan like this, you're going to have watery chicken. You want it to be moist, but you don't want it to be sitting in water. You want the skin to be nice and crispy too. So what you do is you just sit it on here, okay? Just like that. You don't sit it this way. You don't sit it this way where it looks like it's crawling on all four legs. You sit it this way, okay? You want the wingtips up. You want the legs up. You want the cavity open, and there's a reason for this. What you're going to do, you take a clean, either paper towels or a rag, and you're just going to dry the water off on the chicken. Like I said, you have to be careful because chicken carries salmonella. So you do not want to use this rag to wash dishes. You do not want to use this towel to do anything. You just take it straight to the laundry room. I normally just, like I said, there's a reason why we pat down the chicken, because we don't want the meat slick or the skin slick, because we want to be able to butter it up, you know, lather it up. And, you know, that might sound dirty, but I'm not choking the chicken. But I am going to make this chicken into a brilliant masterpiece. It's going to look so good, you guys are going to want to buy your own chicken and do the same recipe, and you'll see it works. But you dry it off like this, because the skin's dry, so that way you can season the skin. Because if the skin's wet and you put seasoning and all these things into it, it's just gonna come off, and the skin's not gonna have any flavoring, and you know, you're not gonna have no seasoning absorbed into the meat. So you want to make sure you do this right. And so this is your final result so far. And it's just, you know, like I say, it's just a chicken. It's just a, you know, it's just a. It looks a lot cleaner once you rinse it all down and you pat it all down. You can see it's the way it's supposed to look, you know. I mean, there's no blood dripping out. It's just a totally clean chicken. And of course, you can put these chickens on a rotisserie, or I can teach you how to broil or bake it in the oven. And I have a few different whole chicken recipes we'll be doing the next course of a few months to a year. Because everybody's always asking me, well, how do you make a chicken without getting sick? Because you have to be careful with breast and meat this thick. If it's not cooked thorough, you'll be in trouble. And yeah, you could stick a thermometer in there. You could say, you know, it's 300 something degrees in the center, it's done. But I have an exact temperature and an exact time, and it works every time. Never have gotten sick off the chickens I make. I've been making these whole chickens for 15 to 20 years. So let us go over to the stove, and we'll go into our next stage on how to prep this chicken for the oven. This is Lord Rick. I'll be back shortly. Our next step to this recipe is prepping the chicken. See, everything you want to do, if you want to do it right, you want to take things by stages. And, you know, a lot of people don't know how to cook whole chickens or London broils and all these things because they don't understand the concept of the temperature and the time. And some people make chickens that are really too dry, or they're not done all the way, or it's not safe enough to eat. So there's a lot of different things that go on. And I have different, like I said, I have different recipes for chickens. This one is going to be a garlic and herb chicken. And like I said, we'll do a multitude of things before we decide to pop it in the oven. The first thing you want to do is you want to have the oven on 425. Again, that's 425 degrees. You also want to put this chicken in once it's prepped for 1 hour and 37 minutes. No less, no more. 425, lower rack, an hour, 37 minutes. And the first stage of prepping it is, you're going to take some butter with some calcium. And people say, this much salt and butter is going to kill me. No, it's not. We use healthy salt. We use healthy butter. Most of it evaporates or cooks out. Butter helps keep the chicken moist. And you're not eating the butter. You're just moistening the chicken. You're making sure that the skin is not plain, because it could be just plain crispy skin. But we're going to make a buttery type of skin on this. So you can eat the skin. When you cut the breast, you can also eat the skin. And it tastes really good. And what you're going to want to do is you want to take a scoop of butter, put it in the cavity. Since this butter's almost used up, I'm going to use the entire thing. So you don't ever stick the spoon back unless you plan on using all the butter in it. Because again, salmonella can be transferred to other things like spoons and stuff. But since this is almost out, I can basically use the whole thing. You're going to want to take a hunk of butter, you stick the butter on top, take another scoop, shove it in the cavity. The thing is in the cavity, you don't eat inside. You eat the legs, the wings, the breasts, and the thighs, which are under the drumsticks. The butter is what keeps it moist. That's the real secret. The butter in the cavity just boils and melts, and it keeps your chicken from drying out. And it's a good. You can definitely use it because it's a good method to keep your chicken moist and make sure that when you have guests over that your chicken's not so dry everybody's choking on it, right? Because by the time the chicken's done, when it comes to about an hour and 10 minutes, you're going to hear it boiling. It's going to be sizzling. And the sizzling comes from the cavity. And normally I take a paper towel or like a baggie, and I wipe down the chicken. I just lather it. And so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how you do it. Okay? You take your spoon, you smash it down onto the drumsticks. Now I wipe down the chicken because if the chicken was wet, the butter would just be sliding off. And you don't want that. You want to make sure you coat the wings because the wings will burn if and you want to make sure you coat the breast of the chicken. Just like this. And you can take your spoon. Now the chicken looks a little bit more, appealing because you have a nice buttery coat on everything, and that will cook up into the chicken. And trust me, it's very healthy. A little bit of butter is not going to kill you because, like I say, it cooks up, it evaporates. It just keeps your meat moist. If you really want to get technical, you could soak this entire chicken for a day. You can buy some garlic chop and pepper chop, marinade from the grocery store for like 99 cents, and you can soak it in something overnight if you really want high flavor. I generally don't have to do that. I can just season it like this, prep the chicken in it, and when it comes out, it'll have such an awesome taste, just a very flavorful taste, which a lot of people make chicken and it's plain. It doesn't have anything, So you really got to work hard at prepping it before it goes into the oven if you're looking for something that is juicy, has a lot of good taste, a lot of good flavor. And before I further prep this chicken, I just want to talk about something now it's going on over a week. But my son and I seen outside our house a very large military cargo plane with 4 propellers, and it appeared to be having its landing gear down and was crashing into the hill. I got a hill in front of my house. See, you got hills on the chicken. But anyways, I'm going to use the chicken as an example to show you what I seen. Say this wing is my house, and say this is the hill. plane came down on the hill, we'll say has about a half a mile. It's kind of like this, a little bit rolling. The plane came right down on the other side of the hill, disappeared, never ascended. There's no runway, it's all high desert. There's sagebrush and giant rock formations. We heard the loud propellers, and next you know, we viewed it for 3 seconds, heard nothing, it never ascended. So my son drew a picture and for a couple of our members, so our members could identify it with the details and all, and a member had told me it's a World War II B-29 T-bird. I never heard of the plane, but it's actually a very large plane. It's, you know, it has a dome towards the front, a glass dome, it has 4 propellers, and there's these circles of red, white, and blue on the wings, and it had red stripes. And of course that plane could also be foreign because those World War II planes, or that same model, was used by other allies and countries. And you know, there was one that recently crashed, and what we seen as a phantom plane, it was just a few feet from the floor, the desert floor, and it was coming in for a landing. And so you can see this wing would have been, this leg here would have been the hill, and it came between the 2 hills and vanished. And there's no way for it to land. If it hit ground, it would have just rolled and exploded. So I just kind of wanted to use the chicken to describe things in a paranormal way so you guys could see it. I could use the chicken as like a diagram. You know, crazy is as crazy does, right? So we did research because we didn't have our cameras. My son had drawn the picture, and we found out that it was that type of plane. And so the plane flew in the 1940s, and we're in the year 2014, so we have no idea why that plane was there or why it was so low off the ground. But to see a World War II plane and it was going down and vanished, and this area has phantom planes and UFOs, and there's like 3-4 major military bases where they store nuclear weapons, and you know, they have Area 51 Groom Lake, which I've seen UFOs, and they have Edwards in California, and they have China Lake up in Death Valley, and so you got UFO sightings. This is the Sierra Triangle that I live in, which is why I love living here. And so planes over the last multiple decades have disappeared, and they could be in another dimension, been abducted. You know, there's ghost ships, and it's reasonable to say there's ghost planes. So we witnessed something. It was kind of horrifying because we seen this thing going down and then it disappears. No smoke, nothing. There's nothing we can do. It's just, you know, we can draw diagrams. We have UFO videos in the same area where the plane went down, one that landed on that hill. So something's going on with this area. But anyways, on with the chicken, because I'm talking your ear off, and I know you guys are eager to learn. This here, it's minced garlic. It's very expensive. It costs you about $6 for this, but it'll last a while. And what you do, it's a garlic chicken. You take a large scoop. Now, you don't want to touch the chicken, because if I put it back in here and I reuse the garlic for something else, you can contaminate it. So, you know, you take a spoonful on there, and then you take some, and then, you know, close up your garlic. Like I said, you don't want to put the spoon back on in. The garlic, when it's cooking, the flavor of the garlic will cook throughout the breast and the meat. And you just take a little garlic here. I spilled a little on the side. Just sprinkle a little garlic on top. The butter will kind of melt it off a little bit. Now we got our cavity stuffed. Okay, I just stuffed the chicken. I mean, I packed it nice and tight and good. But that's what you want to do. You want to pack that hole. Get your minds out of the gutter. This is just a chicken. Okay? What you want to do, and I'm going to show you, this is a seasoning I buy by Weber. It's called roasted garlic and herb seasoning. And of course, you know, you can just buy the herbs separate, but I mean, this comes, if you look at this, this comes with garlic, sea salt, sweet red pepper, herbs, spices, and natural flavoring. It's very basic. But in addition to having real garlic, you also have garlic, salt, and seasonings mixed together. And you want to take this, lift it up a little, and put some in the cavity. But make sure you got the whole chicken coated. And you can see, if you look carefully, there's red pepper and different herbs on top, and that looks it looks good, and it's not even cooked yet. And then you're going to take some garlic powder, not salt, but powder. Powder the skin completely, just like that. Okay? Onion powder. Onion should be used almost with everything you cook. Onion, garlic, even when you cook steaks, put a little onion powder on it. You can also cook it with onions, but you want to make sure everything's a blast of flavor. I've been to a lot of friends' houses. Their cooking doesn't have any taste, and taste is very important. Taste buds and eating healthy too. Everything I cook is healthy. I mean, tonight's meal is only going to be like a $7 meal. I got the chicken, the asparagus, and I have cheddar broccoli pasta. I will tell you how to do the asparagus come in about 45 minutes, so I'll have to cut the film and come back later. This is ground black peppercorn. Very light coat. If you want it more spicy, put more on. But a little pepper is really good to have on your chicken. If you plan on eating the skin. It's not going to flavor the meat. What's going to flavor the meat is the garlic seasonings and the garlic and the butter inside. It's basically, the meat's going to absorb it all, and when it cooks for an hour and a half, it'll cook fully throughout. Plus the butter acts as a catalyst so that your meat is fully done and you're not eating raw chicken. Because the closer you get to the bone, sometimes you find a little pink or a little red, and that's not good. That means that meat could get you possibly sick. You don't want salmonella, trust me. And of course, your final result, you just take a little salt. Make the skin a little salty, not too much. This is blessed salt, by the way. And I always wondered that if I use kosher salt, does this mean no demons will ever possess me when I'm ghost hunting? Because technically, people use kosher salt and sea salt to cleanse a home. They sprinkle it, and it's been done for decades by ghost hunters or parapsychologists. So does this mean that if this is in my veins, that I will never get possessed by any ghost or demons? I always thought about it. That's a good little theory to think about. Mixing paranormal and chicken has never been this good. So what you want to do, the chicken's fully prepped. Not pricked, it's prepped. Looks good, doesn't it? I mean, you still can't eat it, but it looks like a presentable chicken. It looks like it's ready to go in the oven. I do similar things with turkey breasts also, and I got a couple recipes I will share with you guys around Thanksgiving. You will be totally enlightened and amazed. And you should use these recipes if you love to cook or you want to learn, or you want something inexpensive to feed your family, because everything I cook is healthy. Everything I cook is accurate, temperature-wise, safe to eat, and these are much more cost-efficient meals. And if you got, 3-4 kids and you got a family to feed, a $5 to $8 chicken plus a couple side dishes can really go a long ways. And in the case, I'm waiting for the oven to heat up, but in case of the apocalypse per se, let's say there's a zombie apocalypse or the end of the world, there's a food shortage, you can raise 15 to 20 chickens. And you can have 10 chickens that produce eggs, and then you can have a cock, and that cock can mate with the other chickens, and you can produce, one chicken can lay multiple little hens. And you can actually, cook a couple chickens a week. You could get a good system. Chickens is the food supplement and an answer for world hunger, or in a cataclysmic situation where you no longer can buy meats and foods at the store, it is very easy to raise chickens. You can basically let them run around your backyard. You can feed them seed, corn. They can peck at the weeds and the grass and things like that, and the little buds and seedlings from that get carried from other birds, and they're very inexpensive to raise. And I could teach you how to gut a chicken and do all that, but we're not going to get that gory, But for now, you buy the chicken at the store, you prep it. The oven's now at 425. I'm going to put it on the lower rack, which sits about 3 inches from the burner, so it cooks from the bottom up. So it thrusts the flavors up into the chicken. And I'm going to put it on a timer, and we're going to run it for 1 hour and 37 minutes. I can already hear it sizzling, and I just put it in, it's just sizzling. And that's all we do. Now I'll be back for a second segment, or actually third segment, with the steamed asparagus. And I will show you how to actually make this simple. You can sometimes get these two for $1. Cheddar broccoli. It's healthy. It's got broccoli, cheddar cheese, and macaroni. It's a good carbohydrate for the kids. It's a good filler. But I'm going to teach you how to doctor these up as well. And then, of course, tonight, you won't get to see me make these, but I got these bad boys waiting to be eaten and made after dinner as a dessert. But for now, we're going to have the cheddar and broccoli. We're going to have the chicken. And then we're going to have steamed asparagus. It's going to be a very kick-ass meal. Anyways, this is Lord Rick. We'll be back shortly. We're back with another segment in addition to the garlic herb chicken that's cooking. What you're going to want to do, because obviously you want everything to be done at the same time. You don't want to cook side dishes an hour before the chicken's done. It'll dry out, it'll turn to mush. You want everything fresh, you want everything timed perfect. Now I got about 30 minutes left on the chicken itself. And what we're going to do is we're going to make cheddar broccoli macaroni. It's simple. You could buy the macaroni, you could put in the cheese and make it homemade. But a lot of times when I do these cooking videos, I take into consideration what's the cheapest way. Because when you start buying blocks of cheese and this and that, you could run up a bill of $18 to feed your family. And I'm trying to keep these meals under $10, under $8, and that's what I'm doing here. So, very simple. 2 bags, 3 cups of water, and about a cup of milk. What you want to do is you want to start the burner on about a 7. Okay? If you cook it on about a 6 or 7, when this reaches boiling temperature, when it starts to boil, what you're going to do is you're going to add these in. And the macaroni and the broccoli will soften up nicely, and by the end of 30 minutes, it will be done exactly. I have everything kind of timed to a cue, because when I create 3 to 4 course meals, I always think, I want everything done at the same time, nice and hot, nice and fresh. And you can take, this is just cheddar, what you want to do, see, because you can doctor up food. And it can still be in some way homemade, But just I want to slice like that, Not much. You don't need much. Just you want it to be a little extra cheesy. So we're gonna let this cook for about 30 minutes. I got it on about a 6.5. So in about 10 minutes it'll boil, and then it'll spend 20 minutes simmering until it's fully done. You want it to be thick. You don't want it to be runny. cheddar and broccoli because that'll run into your chicken and into your sides. And what we're going to do, I was telling you we're going to steam some asparagus. I'm going to put it on about an 8. Asparagus is very tough if it's not cooked thorough. And this is a head of asparagus. You can buy this for sometimes $1 at the store. And what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to take, ooh, I got tags coming off and everything. Take the rubber bands. Now since I'm moving, my sons, they can use this to roll up their posters. So, they do come in handy, You want to, I could get really technical here and put my hair into a ponytail. And of course I'm going to wash my hands, so it's important you wash your hands between everything you touch and everything that you cook. Especially like, for example, if you're touching the chicken, you wash your hands after you've touched the chicken. You don't want to touch any food, spoons, silverware, plates, anything like that. Because like I say, chicken has to be thoroughly cooked. So you can make use of the rubber bands. You want to make use of everything. You're going to take this bundle of asparagus. This is a pretty good bundle, and you're going to wash it underwater, just in case it's got any pesticides, anybody was touching it. I mean, the steam will kill all the bacteria and germs, but as you know, it's better to be safe than sorry. So if you get fresh vegetables, take my advice, wash them. Because if you don't, and you get sick, because God knows what chemicals are and hormones are in today's food, so you want everything as natural and organic as possible. If you can get it organic. This is fresh, has a beautiful smell, and we're going to steam this. We're not going to boil it, we're not going to bake it in the oven, we're not going to fry it, we're going to steam it. This is a steamer pan. See the holes? And what it is there's boiling water in here. Okay, you're going to want to cook it. You're going to want to steam it a half hour on about a 7 or 8, which is a little over medium on your stove. And the hot steam will actually cook this. So let me go ahead and wash this. I'll be right back. And if you heard that strange cock sound in the background, that's Tammy's alarm clock. It is, a rooster that's annoying the fuck out of me during this cooking video. But anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go wash this, make sure all the pesticides, anything that's on it possibly is off before we cook it, because you don't want that cooking into there. Nowadays, let's face it, there's so many hormones in food. I mean, you got kids going through puberty at 9, 10 years old, I mean, people are growing boobs at 10 years old. And so I try to keep everything organic. For a while I was buying the organic milk, the organic vegetables. It gets costly. So what you want to actually do is, make sure you try to use as many natural ingredients as possible. You check your labels, you wash off everything, because you want pure food. You want healthy but pure food. And so let me go ahead and wash these. I'll be right back in about 2 seconds. And this is a very important step. The shoots, you definitely do not want to eat these shoots. It's very hard at the bottom. And this is where they cut the asparagus. You're going to cut off, if you'll pay attention very closely, try to do it over here. Where it's faded, where the color's faded, you're going to want to cut straight down in one motion. And you can do it all at once, as long as you hold the bundle and you cut straight down. You make sure it's even, so that way you just cut off. Come on, rascal. And then you just let your dog enjoy the fallen pieces, because they won't hurt him. They're just a little hard, the asparagus on the ends. And of course I could use a better knife, but like I said, you just want to make sure everything's sliced evenly. And then you're going to take these like this. Actually, you're going to take the asparagus. I'm going to show you an example. You see how the ends are, the tendrils? This is the most tender part of the asparagus. It gets a little more harder and harder to cook as you go, as it gets thicker on the bottom. So what you want to do is, since you're probably going to eat from here and on, and you want this to be tender, face it pointing downwards. Don't face it up, because it won't get steamed. You want this to be tender. You spread them out in a flour, almost like a flour. And what I do is I take the asparagus. Now you see I got a nice pile. I feed my dogs because it's very healthy to feed to your pets. Again, you know, there's dog piss and crap and everything in dog food. And if you have some leftover vegetables or anything like this, this is much more healthier to feed your animals with. So what we'll do is I'll give the dogs some asparagus. I think I do a pretty good job of making a mess of the kitchen, more than I do cooking sometimes. So now that we got these steaming, we're going to have these steaming for a good 22 minutes. What you're going to want to do, you can put butter mixed in with the boiling water if you want your asparagus to have a buttery taste. You can also, let's see if I can find it. I do not have any at the moment, but you can also put a little vegetable oil so that the vegetable oil helps steam them and gives it a little flavoring. And of course, I have it in the can because I ran out the other day from frying some fish. But it's the same thing, just on the water. This will give it a little extra flavor, the oil. You're going to take what you're going to do is you're going to take some salt, lightly salt them. Take a little bit of pepper, just to season them, just a little bit. That's all you need is salt and pepper on the asparagus. Not too much. And you can turn around, and if you really want to get creative, let's see here. You can take ranch dressing, or you can take just some honey mustard, put it on the side of the dish, and you can dip the asparagus in the ranch or the honey mustard, and it will taste fabulous. Like I said, I'm all about the taste. And so what we're going to do is I'm not going to touch anything here. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to let the asparagus steam. I'm going to let the cheesy broccoli simmer. As a matter of fact, I'm going to add it right now because our water just started to boil. With the cheesy broccoli, you know, you can add a little butter, a little extra milk. You can add some cheese if you want it to be a little more cheesy. And what we're going to do going to give this a good stir. You don't want to burn into the bottom. So, you know, I'd say about every 5 to 6 minutes you should come here and stir as it's simmering. Now, the oil also helps the water boil, heats it up because of the oil in here, and so in a little bit steam will start to rise and everything will start to steam and cook the way it's supposed to be cooking. Of course, you definitely don't want a messy kitchen, so you know, if you can clean up when you're doing this, it just helps a little bit more. That way you're not spending an hour cleaning up after your meal. You know, everything's just ready to be washed or put in the dishwasher and good to go. And it's getting really hot, so you can actually turn it up even on high. Because asparagus is a very tough vegetable unless you either steam it or cook it well. And of course, you know, you can top off your night with some of these chocolate chip cookies for the kids. And, you know, anybody could read out of a box and make it with eggs and oil. And I don't even have any more butter, so I can't even make these tonight. But, like I said, something simple like muffins, cookies, maybe a cake, some brownies, something like that is great after a meal like this. And, you know, like I said, you want to eat healthy, so you want a vegetable. Carbohydrate's fine, you know, and the chicken is really good. It's very lean. It has a great flavor. You're not going to put on tons of pounds eating a chicken, you know, a leg or a thigh or, you know, a piece of breast with. It's just very healthy for you. And so I'm going to leave this out to go with this. Don't have no ranch. Sometimes the kids like ranch. You dip it in the ranch. And now you can see, I can finally cut out this segment and show you the final results when the chicken and everything's done on a plate. But you can see, this is what you should see, is a lot of steam coming up. Because this steam here is very hot, but it's also at the same time killing bacteria and cooking the asparagus the way it should be cooked. And these asparagus will be, in about 20 minutes from now, actually about 17 minutes from now, they'll be totally tender and ready for dipping. They'll be ready for dipping. And then, of course, the broccoli and macaroni and cheese is cooking up nicely. And in about 15 minutes, this will be perfectly done. It'll absorb the cheese. It'll absorb the milk. And it's really a wholesome meal. It's an all-American meal. And a lot of my friends are from the UK and Portugal and Spain and all these places. And they want to learn how to cook American. They want to learn how to make some of these dishes. And they're so simple. They hardly take any time. They're cost efficient. And I can teach you to eat a little bit healthier. And these are all great things to eat if you plan on doing a 20-mile hike, for example, in the Sierra Nevadas looking for Bigfoot, or, you know, if you're going to be out all day hiking. This is good the night before. It's a solid meal. Anyways, we'll be back with more. Probably our third or fourth segment of this Cooking 101. This is your chef, Lord Rick. We'll be back with the final results. You can see everything's cooking really great. The broccoli and macaroni is almost done. It's still a little watery, but it's, you know, in about 7 more minutes it'll be completely done. Nice cheesy broccoli. Everything's becoming tenderized and steamed, and if you look, here's our chicken. Look how beautiful that chicken looks. And you can hear the sizzling sounds. That's how you know it's cooking throughout and it's almost done. And of course, you know, it's going to have a reddish to brownish color because all the skin on the outside has absorbed the flavors, and it's crispy skin, and it tastes really good. It's seasoned, and it has that garlic herb taste. And so you want to hear the sizzling. If you do not hear the sizzling, it means your chicken is not cooking. but this chicken is sizzling throughout. Thus, the meat will be ready in approximately 6 minutes. So it takes exactly about an hour and 37 minutes on 425. You start your sides about a half hour before, and everything's done at the same time. I'll be back with this masterpiece of a meal in about 6 more minutes, and then you will see very moist chicken, and we'll be ready to eat. It'll be go-to time. So anyhow, the meal's about to be done. I got about 30 seconds left. You can see it's no longer liquidy. See that? Perfect. Cheesy macaroni and broccoli. This is so delicious. You want to turn this off because you want to make room for your chicken. See if I can show you. It's much more, it's too hot. It should bend. It's no longer stiff. So that's how you know it's done, when it starts bending. Just take a pair of tongs and go like that. So we have fresh steamed asparagus. Push this off to the side. Here's where things get really hairy. This is very hot. And you have to make sure, when you got like a 5 to 8 pound chicken, you have to have a really strong wrist to lift it. You can use both hands, but I just use one. And it's awesome. Now the skin's a little dark. That's how it's supposed to be, because the meat underneath is super moist. And see, the skin gets very crispy, so it retains all the moisture throughout the chicken. And there's different ways to tell if it's done. Everything's done on time. And so what we're going to do, what I normally do, is I take a pair of tongs. Now you know your chicken's done if you're able to take a pair of tongs and do this. Watch, pay very close attention. Grab a whole piece of chicken, it just pulls off, right off the bone. And if you look, you do not see any. It might look pink in the camera, I don't know, but the meat should be, well, this is dark meat, but I'm going to show you what a piece of dark meat looks like. You can see there's no blood around the bones, everything's dark, it's dark meat. Okay? And what I'm going to do is you want to slowly take the skin and just put it on a plate if you like the skin. Some people think skin is a little fattening, but like I say, it's just to keep everything moist within the chicken. Now that I've taken the skin away, you can see the white meat. These are the breasts on top. And it's pure white meat. There's no red, there's no pink, it's not burnt. What I normally do, I eat the wings. So I take the chicken wings, and I just grab them with the tongs. They just come right off like that. And the kids like chicken, you know. Kids love drumsticks. I usually give my kids a thigh and a leg. That's what you seen, was a thigh and a leg. And you want to use a fork like this because you're going to want to cut the skin. See, it's still sizzling. But you're going to want to cut, if you want to eat the skin, which normally, like I say, I do. It's not everybody's thing. But if you cook the skin really right, and you do it right, it can taste very good. And it can be just as nutritious as eating the rest of the chicken. And so we have another thigh and breast, which, look how nice, look at that nice color it has, that nice texture. And what I'll do is we'll have leftovers. So, you know, you could actually save this piece of chicken. And for the breast, you take a fork, there's a bone in the middle, and there's even a wishbone right here, but you take Now, my girlfriend, she doesn't eat a lot, so she eats about a half a breast. And you can tell it's done. It's all pure. See, it's white meat. No blood, no pink, nothing. It's completely done. And you take this slice, and so it doesn't dry out, we want to put plastic wrap. On the other hand, what you do, you take your macaroni and broccoli, stir it good, nice and thick. It's really tasty. Put a couple scoops on the plate. And, you know, because you're looking at a 3-course meal right here. And so I got the macaroni and cheese on the plate. So anyways, this meal's made easy with Lord Rick, your founder of the Paranormal Ghost Society, and your host of Angel of the Night Radio. And I'm going to show you a close-up, and then we're going to eat this wonderful, fabulous meal and go watch a horror movie. That's what we're going to do. And, you know, might get a little bit fat over this, but we'll work it off on next week's hike up in the High Sierras, or at Lassen Volcano National Monument when chasing Bigfoot through the woods. So anyways, let me show you a close-up of the masterpiece, or the final results. I mean, this looks like you could actually go to a restaurant, and this would be, you know, we're talking like an $11.99 plate. And this meal only cost about $8.50. And you can see there's a nice color to the chicken. You got your asparagus, your macaroni and cheesy broccoli. And I will show you one last thing. You can see there is no blood up near the bones. It's all dark or white meat. And of course it might look a little different under this light that I have. It might give a different cultural alteration, but you can see the bone. This is the breastbone. See how dark it is? It's not bloody. It's not running blood. There's no pink. It's all white meat, and it's dark because it's fully cooked. Because you cook it thorough, you've cooked all the blood. And if it had, let's say there's salmonella because it wasn't fully done, it would be pink and running red and all that. So that's how you know your chicken's done. Because I had someone today come over, a friend of mine, and they said, I don't understand how a chicken's done. And there's two different ways. You can check the temperature and base it on the amount of degrees internally near the breastbone, or you can go ahead and if it pulls off the bone, and the meat's not pink or red or anything, you know it's done. I have this down to a T, so it's safe, it's healthy to eat, it's ready to go, and I am ready for a wonderful meal tonight. And you know, you open up a bottle of wine, and it's a great meal. And of course you can look, you can see, I have a couple chicken wings, they're nice and crispy. And with that in mind, you can examine my breasts. That sounded really filthy, didn't it? Examine my breasts. But you can see under the light, it's just all white meat. So I got a wonderful, tasty breast. And it's about as sweet as honeysuckle. Oh, and at the dinner table, I want to mention one more thing, because it's easier to see the plates from up above. Your meat will have a very nice garlic and herb flavor because the butter cooks throughout and the seasoning, and the skin just keeps it all together. And so, you know, you don't have It's a very moist chicken. When I cut open into the breast, when you cut into the breast, it should be nice and juicy, which it is. Look how moist that is. It just, you know, you can barely press and it just falls apart. And that's what your meat should look like. And this is a basic garlic, herb, whole chicken recipe with asparagus and cheesy broccoli macaroni. Anyways, Bon Appetit. So anyhow, dinner's done. By now, that's all you're going to have is a carcass, as you can see. And in the back of the breast, there's a wishbone. And Jared and I are going to make a wish. You pull on one end. And you know what my wish is?
I don't know.
My wish is that this is the year that I make you a baby sister or another baby brother before I get too old and I'm over the hill, okay?
All right.
Or you should wish for like us getting Sasquatch on video.
Yeah, hopefully.
Since we're going to volcanic or Lassen Volcanic Park.
Yeah.
There's thousands of sightings up there this year, and I'm taking you. So you ready to pull? Who gets the biggest gets their wish. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, I just got a little stump.
I got a dial. Wishbone.
Well, I guess that you'll get to see Bigfoot, and I will not.
Well, yeah, we can share it.
Sounds good to me.
Yes.
Awesome.